Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Talk About It, the podcast. I'm your girl, Twana Yvonne, and if you are tapped in, you already know you can call me TJ. Today's episode is super special. We always think all of them are, but today more so because it is a birthday episode. Shatema and I are birthday twins, and so we want to dedicate this episode to each other. Just give you all a chance to get to know us, give a shout out to our fellow Leos out there who may be watching. And so get in here, buckle in, and take some time to get to know us just a little bit. And before we do that, before I dive in, you know I got to bring in my co-host, Ms. Shatema, the CEO of Procure Talent Management. Shatema Grisham, how you doing, girl?
I'm good. It's our birthday.
Yay!
Leo season.
One time for the birthday. You ready?
Yeah. Yes. Always ready.
Yes. This is an exciting episode as usual.
Is.
I know I have surprised you a little bit about what's
all the
happening.
time.
But I think that keeps the authentic piece in it. I think that keeps us honest to who we are. I never really give her an idea what we talking about.
Never.
Unless there's a guest, she gets to introduce them and we pick some hot topics. But today the topics is us. We're your hot topics. And so our birthday month is here. You
Leo
guys
season.
See the set?
Yes. Happy birthday, TJ.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you.
Yes.
If you don't have Leos in your family, I'll tell you this about Leos. We think our birthdays is a holiday.
Absolutely.
Everybody should be celebrating it. Everybody should be turned up. And so we wanted to celebrate our birthday with you all. And what we want to talk about is just who we are behind the mic, why we decided to do this podcast. And of course, it's obvious we're going to talk about HR. We can't help it. We're HR practitioners. So how you feeling about that, Shatema? You ready to rock?
Sounds good. Absolutely.
All right. So the first thing I want to ask is, with our birthdays right here, I would like us to reflect back on the past year. You know, what that looked like, some of the challenges, some of the wins, and then how we can use that in our year going forward. And before I do that, because we're going to get distracted, I got to introduce my best friend, because I forgot, Shatema. Cookie, she going to keep us busy and keep the guests, our producers busy. So please, y'all, if y'all see Cookie coming in, just shout her out. She's going to be a part of the set today. I'm sorry because she distracted me already.
No. You know, we love puppies.
Yes, I'm a mama, so I see my kid over here acting up. So go ahead, Shatema, tell us about this last year and just a reflection of, you know, what it meant, some of your wins, some of your biggest challenges, and go in.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. So first of all, I can't believe that 12 months have moved as quickly as they have. Like, it's July.
Yes.
Like, that's just wild to me that we're, you know, after this month, we'll be preparing for the holidays again.
Yep.
So, you know, something to that old sage of time moves quickly. You know, the older you get, the faster time moves. This last year, there's a lot that's happened this last year, like in the world, you know, specifically, but even personally, we, you know, talked about moving forward with the podcast shortly before July of last year. So, and we had talked about it and kind of manifested it in months before that, almost a year previous to that it's something that we should do. And here we are a year later, almost 40 episodes in.
I mean, is it that many? It's exciting.
Yes. So congratulations, you know, to us on that, number one. The last year, well, first of all, let me say this. You know, I'm very spiritual. You know, we share that. So we're little, maybe unorthodox in that space.
Absolutely.
And before the Bible thumpers come for me,
Not the Bible
believe
thumpers.
in biblical truth. So I grew up in the church and believe in biblical truth. But I have, the older I get, you know, have expanded that spiritual relationship as opposed to a religious relationship. So coming up on my birthday, yes, we're Leos and we're extra. We start planning for our birthday in January. Quiet as kept, we start planning for our birthday during our birthday for the next year.
It's true.
So, and we always have grand ideas, even when it's low key. right? We still have put some thought in not doing nothing.
Right.
So
I love that.
So for me, the birthday season is always a time of reflection. I believe in that run around the sun. I love astrology, specifically Western astrology. So although, we're always looking for a good turn up, it's always a time for me to sit and reflect the previous year. It's a great time for me as like a calendar year to start thinking about the next 12 months. It all, happens around that birthday season. So for me, that's a loaded question. Last year, one of the wins is the podcast. We started off a little rough, if we're going to be honest and authentic.
Yes.
We've gone through a couple producers, a couple rooms, and
producers.
If you followed us, then you know.
Yes. Our set has changed for a reason, guys. So yes, the what do you call it? Ebbs and flows.
Absolutely. This podcasting is not easy, and God bless anybody who does it by themselves, because TJ takes the lion's share of this load. But this time last year, we started the journey. So I definitely think that's a win, and I know that we've had conversations and we've seen the progression on the podcast. Personally, I have, I call them the littles, but I have 2 that are under 18 and 1 that's well over 18. So the littles keep me busy, and we've had some good wins with them as far as their activities and growth. And so I think, the older you get, you learn to appreciate that time of, being under 18, them being a kid, them being young, the awe that comes with moving to the next grade, having their first day clothes, laid out, ready to go. Although this generation, they do Crocs and, slides. It's not as dramatic as we used to have our shoes match our tops, match our...
Dion, get your baby. Cookie over here being extra, y'all. Sorry.
But yeah, so we, had a lot going on that first year. A lot of positives, some challenges with balance, mental health.
We'll talk about that, because I want to dig in. That's a whole topic in itself, to be honest. And I think it's important for us to share that aspect and be vulnerable about that. But I want to jump off of what you said. We started the podcast before we turned on the cameras talking about, wow, it's been 1 year ago. If you saw our, launch episode, it started in my home. We were like, I want to do something, we want to test it out before we go live, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot that goes into it. But it was important to us. We wanted our stories, our voices to be heard, our journeys. And so it is exciting to look back and say, it started here as a thought, and now we are here doing the podcast live. I brought Cookie for me. She's my new best friend, and she's also significant into this aspect of where I am. And so, like Shatema, I'm also very, very spiritual, and every aspect of my life centers around the spiritual piece of who I am, including this podcast and why I wanted to do it. My throat chakras have been open.
I love it.
I'm going to start right there, because I'm typically a person that is pretty private. Who I am is quite kept. Yeah. And
which is a misconception when it comes to Leos.
I agree, because they always think because we're fire signs,
extrovert and turned up,
right? We turned up when we supposed to be turned up, all right? And I like to say we're ambiverts. When it's time for me to be outside, I can turn up, but I absolutely get my energy from being quiet and being who I am.
Right.
Just turning inside and looking inward. And so this last year for me, it has been a roller coaster ride. I will go back and say I started with doing some Reiki. If you all don't know, in February 23, Reiki was this way of me beginning my healing journey. And it was important because I've been through a lot in terms of trauma. Mm-hmm. That's work trauma, personal trauma. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to start this healing journey. And I started with Reiki, and Reiki was like enlightening.
I remember.
Like, you remember because I was like, all these things start happening for me. Yeah. Like, even begin to have gifts become activated. And that's something I don't typically talk about publicly. I think when I had a podcast with Isaac, he somehow pulled that out of me, Isaac Paul, that I do own that I have these gifts. And so Reiki was the first moment that my gifts became even more activated. And so when I think back a year ago, I look different. You know, I didn't have locks, just knowing we went through this experience at the Crown.
Yes,
Do you remember the Crown?
Absolutely.
What can you share about the Crown? And I forgot our crowns, guys. We had crowns today.
We did. That's
them.
all right. We keep our crowns on.
Yes, we keep them on.
I won't forget. I have, for the most part, I have a photographic memory of conversations. And I was driving home, and you called me, and it started talking about a dentist appointment. And somehow
Yes.
you had just come from the dentist, and I had a dentist appointment the next day. And we started talking about like our dental anxiety and your story. And somehow that led to this whole spiritual epiphany of crowns and wearing your crowns and essentially being in the time in our lives to move to that next level, like to own it.
Ashe.
And so I don't know how that started from a dentist appointment, but it went from there to those other pieces. And I think, one of the things I've learned, the older I get, is not to participate in anything that I don't want to. If I'm not growing from it, if I'm not learning from it, I've kind of unlearned obligation. And not that there aren't things that I do that I have to do because I'm a daughter or a mother, but I've learned to only participate in things that I want to participate in. And so with doing the podcast, because I had started one previously in Genius Exchange with Shatema, I did a couple different episodes, but the lift was too much. I couldn't figure out how to get the guest in, how to, my hair wasn't done, Leos are extra. I'm like, you want to get on camera?
Right,
I'm not getting on camera.
Cute, right?
I'm like, I don't have time for this. So I stopped, but I knew it was something that I wanted to pick up again, but I also knew that I needed someone to help me, stay focused. And so when we connected and we started talking about the podcast, when I prayed about it, I'm always asking for confirmation. And, in our spirituality that we share, there was just different signs that were coming in like, nope, you got to do it. Specifically, the first podcast you had us jump on. Remember, I was like, she's like, you're going live. I'm like, what?
It was our first producer. And what I remember about this specifically is that I had met this particular producer over a year ago, also meeting my mentor at this same event. And so as we're talking about this, I'm getting chills because my mentor ends up passing away the second Reiki appointment I have. So imagine I'm going through healing, I'm Reiki, and I meet my mentor at this event, and he's like, we're going to help you in your career. We're going to help you what I call get off the plantation. And so he helped me start creating this exit strategy, which I was like, what's an exit strategy? What is that? And so at the same event, I met our first producer, and I remember saying, like, wow, this is interesting. I met her here, and she was a great spirit. And so I said, let me circle back. And when I circled back, she was like, I want you on the podcast. And so I reached out to Shatema and I said, you get 2 dates, this one or that one. And the first date was within days. And she was like, girl, my hair ain't done. This ain't done. I said, don't matter. We about to go. We doing
like,
this.
Get your edge, just some edge control. Like, I think I had braids on then. I was like, I have these raggedy braids in my hair. I'm not getting on no podcast.
I said, make it happen because we are going live on this podcast. And we did. And it was me, Shatema, Britt, and it felt good. It was good. Like everything they offered us, just to support and help to get the podcast launched. That was the moment, right? Yeah. That was the moment for us.
Destiny fulfilled. Yes. Because from there, I think things just started to move quickly from the conversations that we had, and learned a lot. Learned a lot along the way.
We learned a lot. We definitely got
trial and error.
Feet wet early. We jumped in. But what I also can remember is at that time, I was buying a home, and I had my own room, if you will, because when you have a partner, you're fortunate to have your own space in the house. And I created a podcast room in the house, and my son designed it. You know, he came over and he was like, Mom, you should put the chairs over here and put this over there, and this can be your podcast room. And I looked at him and I was like, why? You know, he was like, because you need a podcast. You know, you would be great at it. And so they've been very supportive as well, talking about, you know, the podcast and seeing us do it. We see people and they're like, you have a podcast. And so that means a lot to us, because we didn't do this for us. We didn't do this to become, you know, these people. We want to share our knowledge. We want to share the things we have been through, our journeys with our audience. We both have a lot of knowledge to give. And so that's why we're here. We want to be able to do that in a way that is fun.
Right.
Entertaining.
Authentic.
Yes, authentic. Leos can only be real. And so
True story.
That's
True story.
That's who we are.
If they knew how unscripted this show was, I'm like,
super
okay,
unscripted, even today.
Okay, TJ, let's do this.
Right. So today I'm like, get in here. This is what we're doing. She's like, but I'm not ready. You're ready.
I know.
All right. If you stay ready, you ain't never got to get ready.
Because Leos sometimes overthink.
Yeah, we do.
So if you give me too much information, and we sometimes feel the need to want to be in the know, that not that we're not authentic, but because we're very particular about how we communicate and what we communicate, that sometimes you're going to get that dead space because I'm thinking in my head, trying to figure out what I'm going to say, as opposed to...
It's being analytical, too, and always being great.
Right.
We feel like we've got to be great. And so that leads me into our next question. We're both Leos, right? And so typically Leos are confident, they're loyal, they're leaders. I feel like it's obvious that we both fit in a lot of those spaces, but what ways do you feel like you don't fit the traditional Leo standards?
So that's interesting, because I feel like if you looked up a Leo, you probably would see Shatema. I fit more than not. I fit all of those boxes.
Because I want y'all to know they say Leos are bossy and take over it.
We can be a little bitchy.
Do you hear that, Dion? Is your mom bossy and take over-ish? Oh, our executive producer said yes.
We gotta own that shit. Like, it is the truth. So, but if I had to pinpoint, I think there are levels to it. And I think with age comes wisdom, with experience comes wisdom. So I know, when I am like, I have learned to listen, even though I have a firm opinion, to not express my opinion.
Cookie.
And like I said, for the most part, if I'm being honest, I fit about 90% of the profile.
Really?
I think the only misconception that I think people think that we crave attention, and they don't see their introvert side of us.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I don't get dressed and choose clothes or colors because I crave this attention. It's really for me.
Yes.
It's really like,
Thank
TJ,
you
want me to get on a podcast and my edges are not, ready? Like, why would I do that? Like, but it's not for whatever room. But I feel like, if you follow astrology, we're not a planet. We are the only sign that is the sun.
Okay.
And so we attract.
Ooh.
So when we walk in a room, it doesn't matter if you're in your sweats, your T-shirt, or a baseball cap. Okay. You're probably having people come to you, and they, we're the sun. We attract. We are the light. I love
that.
So it's not that we go in there seeking all this extra attention, but if I walk in a room and you ask me a question, then we're going to engage in this big space, right? We have big personalities, and we have big opinions, and so you're going to see those qualities come out, like, authentically, where they're like, oh, TJ popped in here with this belt buckle that's bedazzled, being extra. No, TJ put that on for herself.
Yes.
And whether you acknowledge it or not, she knows that she does shit when she walk in here, and that it's going to grab the attention that it's going to get. But others are like, well, why would she wear that?
Right. Why is she so extra?
Why is she so extra?
I love the way you said that, because that is what I do want people to know about us. Like, we are those people that when we show up, yes, we may look bedazzled, we may look, like our hair is always put together, but honestly, that shit is for us. When I was a young girl, like I remember being the girl at the pool with my swimsuit and hat and heels, and I'm like, this is just who I am, but that makes us feel good. Leos are the type of people that we do shit that makes us feel good, and what happens is other people feel inferior sometimes. Other people feel like, oh, why is she so extra? But please know,
we don't care. We don't care.
We don't care.
We don't
but
care.
It's also for us. Like I wear shit that is for me. Like I like what I like. Like I am extra for me. And so if you feel a certain way about it, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to fold. I'm not going to change that. And it isn't that I'm not empathetic. I just have to focus on me first. And that's something I've learned over the years. This year, I'll be 49. And I know people be like, 49? Yes, girl, 49.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have 3 children, 3 grandchildren, and I have lived a life. And I'm excited to live this next journey. But everything has been about just succession, making sure my kids have been okay. This season, it's about me. It's about like my peace. The one thing that I will say that has been a little bit heavier is my girl Cookie. She over here. I mean, that puppy stage hard as hell.
I remember.
My old puppy died last October, and it was coming off of this very spiritual journey I had, and so it was very reflective. Like I don't know if you remember me saying Siri passed and was like the old me, right? Like the old me passed away. And now I'm living this new journey. I'm excited for it. I'm no longer on the plantation. And let me clear that up. The plantation isn't one company. No. All right. The plantation is modern day employment. It really is. Like we are.
No control of your schedule.
I mean, your schedule, all the rules,
demands,
when you gotta be there.
Limited creativity, limited engagement, and how you show up too, because you're masking, for this norm that is outside of how you want to show up sometimes, and what is required of you.
Yes. I want to talk about that for you because I feel like, you going into picking up a new plantation role was a necessity, right?
Yes.
But as an outsider looking in, I see the handcuffs. Like I see like you aren't the same in terms of your space in your life. So going back, although you still have procurement and you picked up this contract, talk about what that feels like in terms of getting your freedom, but then having to tap back into modern society of employment.
So if I'm being honest, initially it felt like failure.
Oh.
So I had to, as an entrepreneur, PTMG actually reached 5 years recently. And so my first 3 years were fruitful. It was abundant. It was fruitful. I met my annual salary in my first 3 months of employment, as an entrepreneur. I took the risk, moved on faith, and I had all these big plans. And then in like 2023, the market, specifically in HR and human resources, contracts that I had that were stable, there was downsizing at organizations, utilizing a vendor was kind of extra, specifically for HR where we don't bring in revenue. And so some of those contracts started to limit themselves. And so, I had to make a decision to still, to keep the quality of life that I wanted. It started as an opportunity through the company, and then a proposition ended up being long-term, way longer than what I suspected. And you get used to the money.
6 months went from...
6 months went to 12 months to 18 months to actually we're knocking on 2 years. And so I think you get accustomed and used to things. And
I heard the money, right? And that's something Leos can't help either.
We are accustomed to, we like what we like.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Nice things.
We like what we like. And we also... it's a personal brand. So to leave things unfinished was hard when I had committed to doing stuff, and then to leave it unfinished, I felt being drawn in. But Initially, it felt like failure, that it was something that I had to do. The reality is, which I've recentered this year, I don't have to do it. I'm choosing to do it, but I don't have to do it. I could have made some adjustments in financially, made some adjustments to make it work to give me that freedom back. But then, that paycheck coming every 2 weeks was extra and was nice to take care of home projects and other things. So now it's that exit strategy. It's what does that feel like? What does that look like in this new stage? PTMG provides me freedom. It provides me an opportunity to be authentic in the leader that I want to be and not the leader that is required of me. It stretches me on a business side to think as a CEO as opposed to an individual contributor or someone executing on somebody else's vision.
I love that.
And so that's something that I will never let go of. It's something that I've had to modify, but it's always there. And what I've done this year, moving into this new year, is prioritizing that above some of those other things, above the money, getting back the time and the freedom.
I think that's important, Shatema, because we are so accustomed to work for pay, right? There is no mindset where we get freedom. Right. No. And I feel like this bird was sat next to me and I was like, no, leave that. Because with this bird comes a lot of freedom of being able to fly and go and come. And when you are, stuck in the old ways of my success means my job. My success is my title. My success is how hard I work for somebody else. Yeah. Right?
And it's too exhausted to work for yourself.
It's a difference, right? And so you all become, and you all, for me, is people like Shatema and other women who have decided, no, I don't want to be on a plantation. A plantation isn't a particular company. It is the modern day model of work because we spend 9 to 12 hours. There is no 8 hours. All right. 9 to 12 hours a day. That is half of a day giving everything we are to another company. And so watching them leave that and decide freedom, right? Because when you get to become an employer, right? You are now self-employed. I can choose my hours because it doesn't have to be 9 to 5 anymore. And that's a lot to break your mind from. You are so used to, okay, I got to get up. I got to put in these emails. I got to do this. And so it's different. When you become self-employed, you decide your hours. You can travel. I can fly and be in Bali and work. I can take a meeting from anywhere. And so there's a level of freedom that comes with that. Yes, there's a struggle. Yes, there is, where's my next paycheck coming from? But what I want to ask people is to remember who you are and remember the strength within you to become free, to remember all of those things you contributed to a company. You are looking for recognition and reward, and do that for you. Do that for yourself. And I love Shatema's story. It was tough for her to leave. And even though, she made a choice to go back and pick up some extra income, but it also was a strategy for a potential lead.
It definitely was.
Right? Which could become another lead. But there's a level of freedom. And so I want us all to remember that you get to decide your destiny while you're here on earth. And so I am excited for this journey. I will be 49, and while some people think that's old, I still feel like I'm young. Absolutely. And I've got a lot to give. So I appreciate you all for joining us today for our birthday episode. This is part 1. We will certainly do part 2. Shatema, let everybody know where they can find you and Procure Talent and what you all do.
Absolutely. So you can find us on all of the social platforms, Facebook, primarily LinkedIn, Instagram. It's Procure Talent Management Group on all of the social media sites. We are a full cycle HR consulting company. So we specialize in talent management, which essentially is the way that you attract, hire, retain, and develop your employees. So we also specialize in job seeker services, resume, interview prep, and things of that nature. So we are excited. Check us out.
Very good. I'm excited to give a shout out to the Black HR Society, who makes a meaningful difference in the lives of Black HR professionals, but also in the community. I had an opportunity to visit ASU and give some resume tips to these students and those in the program for the summer. If you're looking for some resume tips and advice, job search has been just a struggle for you, you can email your resume to askhr@theblackHRsociety.com. We will absolutely give you some feedback on your resume. If there's a particular industry you're looking to be in, send that as well, and we'll give you some feedback on it. You've got access to some HR professionals in the Valley, so use it. Take advantage of that. And so you can find the Black HR Society on all social platforms, IG, blackHRsociety.com, and all other platforms, the Black HR Society. We appreciate you for tapping into Let's Talk About It, the podcast. If you want to be a guest, or if you know somebody that would be a wonderful guest or sponsor, email me, TJ@WeWannaTalkAboutIt.com, because we want to talk about it with you. And until next time, we'll see you back here. Be good. Bye-bye.
See ya.